I believe that Nigeria's independence in 1960 ushered in a new era in the nation's quest to be the best version of itself, shedding the albatross of colonialism and embracing self-rule with the optimistic vision of unity, prosperity, rapid development, and the intention to lead a fast-rising continent out of the repressive dominance of its former overlords. Needless to say that turning the lofty dreams to reality has proved to be a longer journey than what was originally envisaged by the founding fathers of the Republic. The Nigerian journey has taken in several hills and valleys of political experiments, many bends and turns of economic recalibration, but in all, the Republic continues to stand, braving the rough tides of contestation and the pessimism of many watching it from afar, to move ever closer to its destination of a nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. Today, the 1st of October 2023, marks the 63rd year of Nigeria's independence, with the celebrations captioned "Renewed Hope for Unity and Prosperity." As usual, you can only get the true feel of this milestone on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the only channel that can truly say it has been there with the nation throughout its journey. In the course of this broadcast, there will be a special parade by the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and later on, there will be an interdenominational service to mark the event. We have lined up guests with unique insights to share their perspectives with us today. We have also lined up special reports and key messages from eminent Nigerians to reflect on our collective aspirations as a nation. I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi, welcoming you to Nigeria's 63 special coverage on the NTA. Let me quickly welcome my guest in the studio, bright and early, Abiodun Adeniyi, Professor of Communication, Deputy Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Based University, Abuja. Thank you for coming. I can see you in white.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, joining us from our Kano studio is Yushao Ango, Professor of Finance and Entrepreneurship, Kaduna State University. Will be joining us from our Kano studio. Is Prof there? Good morning, Prof. Happy Independence. And of course, we will have Professor Sadiq Abba, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration, University of Abuja. And later on, in the next hour, we'll be joined by His Excellency Reverend Father Isent Alia, Governor of Benue State, from our Makurdi studio. That's the lineup for this morning, and of course from there we'll dovetail naturally to the military parade. We'll return and continue with the program. But let me start with Professor Adeni in the house. Like I observed earlier, you are in white, but what are your thoughts at this time? 63 steps towards nation.
Yeah. It's a milestone. Maybe we should just say it's another remarkable moment, and of course every year added to the years of an entity needs to be identified as an opportunity for review, for examination of what we have done rightly in the past, and of course how we'll make projections into the future. Yes, there might be disappointment. It is natural for us to be concerned about the downsides of our nation, the failed dreams, unrealized objectives, and of course the many challenges bedeviling us now. But it's also very important to be mindful of the positives that have come our way. And if we are careful enough, if we're very introspective, we'll see that there are quite a number of positives as well. The downside are no doubt disturbing. It is in the nature of man to focus more on the negative. But at the same time, in focusing on the negative, we should not lose sight of the fact that 63 years after, we are still one nation with lots of potentials, with lots of problems. If the right piece is fitted into the appropriate jigsaw, and if the right piece is fitted into the appropriate position in the jigsaw, I beg your pardon. And here we are now. I just heard the president said 7th consecutive president elected. Quite a milestone, no doubt. We have made some gains in terms of the democratic consolidation of the country. We have also made some gains in terms of remaining together, irrespective of the fratricidal civil war that lasted for 3 years. And of course, we have made some gain in being able to remind ourselves, of the many the many letdowns, the many failures, that we can reckon with. The challenge now, is to pick on these downsides, identify them properly, and design ways of dealing with them as a step towards development. Remembering that nation building is not a day job. Nation building, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to nation building. Nation building is painstaking. It happened one step after the other. But in building a nation, especially of a fragmented, multi-ethnic, plural nation like ours, it requires painstaking effort. Painstaking effort that will be driven by human resources. Human resources, and I mean leadership, at different rungs of it. Okay? It is when we have this in place, with proper galvanization, proper sensitization, the appropriate communication, the appropriate messaging, that the people can be roused, trusting in the promise of the center that is trying to pull them together. We have seen nations across the world fall apart. This keeps happening now and again. But why did they fall apart? Of course, we know that first, before they fell apart, oftentimes it is always preceded with crisis. Obviously, we have also said many times that we do not want this to happen, but not wanting this to happen does not mean that we should take for granted the fact of our continuous existence as one nation. But if we remain committed, if we remain determined, focused on coming together, of course, through attending to the pains of the units. Many of the units that is making up the Nigerian nation seem to be feeling a sense of marginalization. And that sense remains an intangible that should not be ignored. That's why we have to continue to call on the leadership, to be sensitive to some of these concerns. The concerns can become cumulative over time, and when, of course, we hope that it won't get to a stage where we will not be able to manage it. But of course, in the last couple of years, we've gone through many crises. We've had to deal with insurgency. We're presently still dealing with it at some level. We're dealing with banditry. We're dealing with kidnapping. And of course, we've been able to keep them, we've been able to surmount them largely, even though they are still raging. But the point we're making is that if we will be able to contain them up to this point, as we're still remaining one as a people, it just shows that we've got the force, we've got the spirit, we've got the energy, to continue to power on, considering the gains in remaining together as a people. It is trite in knowledge that we're often better together. And of course, we know the crisis, the violence, the destruction, that dismemberment can cause. 63 years down the line may be a long time, but it can as well be reviewed as a short time in the evolution of a nation. Because we know for a nation to evolve, it's not a day job, like I said earlier. It takes a process, and that process is rightly continuing. But again, we must be assured that we are fitting the pieces into the appropriate place, as the case could be.
All right, I think I should even be in the center because I'm being flanked by two professors so that I can feel the intellectual depth should rub on me this morning. So we'll go quickly to Kano. Prof. Yushao Ango, Professor of Finance and Entrepreneurship, Kaduna State University. You heard from your colleague here in Abuja. What are your thoughts this morning on Nigeria 63? Prof, go ahead.
Well, it's a long journey. I mean, for a nation, certainly not so long, but for many of us, it's a very, very long journey and a successful one, despite all the challenges. Like Prof has said, we have had quite a number of challenges. But when you look at the nation as a whole, Giving also consideration to the challenges we have faced, we have to congratulate each other, that we have been able to survive it. And from all indication, everything shows that Nigeria was weathered the storm. We have been able to do that. We have passed through a lot of challenges, including even a civil war. But look at the economy of Nigeria. It has moved right from the onset, from a very, if you like, primary, we're still substantially a primary productive economy, but we are moving gradually into higher realms. And I see a Nigeria that, from all indication, has a lot of promise. We are a country that has been blessed by God, with so much, unlike most other places. You see some countries have been blessed with human resources, some countries have been blessed with maybe some mineral resources. Some countries have been blessed with population. Some countries have been blessed with a number of things. We have been blessed with everything. We have the human resources. We have the land, which is productive, which is agrarian. We have also quite a number of mineral resources. We have been endowed, like I said, with the population. We are 20% of Africa as it is. We are 200 and maybe about 20 million today. At independence, we were only 45 million, by 1973, maybe about 60 million. But today, we are 200 and something million. And the estimation is that by 250, by the year 2050, we are going to be something like 377 million. So as a people, and we have been able substantially to feed ourselves. Yes, we still import one or two things in terms of food, but the significant portion of what we eat in Nigeria is produced in Nigeria. And I think we need to be happy about that. Now, in terms of the economy and the society and the way we relate to one another, like I said, for a nation that is evolving, a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country, naturally there will be a lot of challenges. And we thank God that we're actually moving on. We have a lot of challenges in terms of the economy. We can do better in terms of making use of our productive capacities and our abilities. But then the first thing I would say is to say congratulations to Nigerians. We have been able to actually survive, despite the predictions of doomsayers that says that we are not going to be here, by this year. In fact, 5 years or 7 years ago, we should have been different things altogether. We have seen other countries dismember themselves. We have seen what they have become, and we are optimistic of what this Nigerian project is all about. And we're looking forward to greater things, all things said, and we pray that God will give us that opportunity.
Prof. Yushao Ango from Kano Studios. Let's now go into, some of the things, that the president touched on in his Independence Anniversary speech, address to the nation. I was talking about the fact that, acknowledging the fact, Prof, that he understands that we're going through some challenges, especially occasioned by some of the reforms, the bold reforms that his administration has undertaken. And at the same time trying to, his administration is trying to, make sure that, this does not linger on for much longer. But I made some, quotable remarks in this sense. He says, he's not one to, align with the people who will build their family mansions in the middle of a swamp. And not a man to erect a national home on a foundation of mud. To endure, our home must be constructed on safe and pleasant ground. But reform may be painful, but it is what greatness and the future require. That is, perhaps we are in the time when sacrifices have to be made on both sides of the aisle to make sure that we get to, the destination and the interment of the founding fathers.
Yeah, no doubt it was a rousing speech. That's what you expect from the president at this time. And of course, sometimes you can feel that this kind of speeches are rather routinous, because you do not expect him to keep quiet. And in making this kind of intervention, sometimes it doesn't even bother on policy. It's just about boosting the morale of the citizen, galvanizing them, giving them, a heightened sense of belonging, a sense of love, sense of promise, that the future is still going to be better than today. And of course, in literary terms, the speech was free-flowing, somewhat, no doubt, well delivered as well. But because he repeated some of the things that he's been talking in the past, we should endure, we should make sacrifice. That's all right. But it's okay for us to make sacrifice, for us to endure. But the question again that people will continue to ask is that sacrifice should not just be one way, it should come both ways. Where the people are making sacrifices, the leaders should also be seen as making sacrifice as well. It shouldn't be a one-way thing. It should be mutual, so that we can be on the same page and we can feel a sense of equal integration and involvement. But overall, the speech was appropriate. No doubt reform is going on. We have seen that Naira is being unified. Dual exchange rate has supposedly been cancelled. Subsidy has been removed. That's fine, But again, maybe my colleague in Kano will speak to it as an economist. But some of these things probably will take time for us to realize, because the benefit will take time to realize because economics can be very tricky. For now, it looks like it's one of pain, one of difficulty, which is why people enthusiastic, people are anxious, that government will come in as quickly as possible and assuage, the pains of the people, because what is the primary essence of government, if not, ensuring that people are largely happy, that the economy is functional, the economy is productive, the multipliers are properly triggered, full employment is in place. But in terms of courage anyway, it's also okay to commend the administration, for being courageous also enough to take some decisions that have been hanging in the past, that we've been talking about them, but people, maybe past leaders, have somewhat been reluctant, to take the bull by the horn. But here he has bailed the cat, but again, what he does afterwards matters. And what we're asking him to do now, is to take some more step further to assuage the pains of the people, which I think they are doing. But again, we are hoping that the mitigation of the pains will come in no time.
All right, Professor Ango, if you're still with us, you've listened to, Professor Adeni, and listening to the broadcast, the president has not shied away from the fact that he understands that Nigerians are going through trying times at this time. In terms of interventions, I also read out some of the reforms being made as well. But at the subnationals, in terms of your own observations, are we also towing the same line at the state level?
The states are moving, also progressing somewhat. But what we are experiencing in various states may differ, in terms of approach. But I think at the subnational level, some progress is being made. In most states, they are also probably keen in. It's like if you look at the various cities in Nigeria, you see that a lot of transformation has taken place. Many places I've visited some years back. When you visit them now, you see some transformation, you see so much activity. It's as if the states are actually in competition with one another. So in reality, even though the level of progress is not at the same level, yet at subnational level, some progress is being made from what I can observe. And we expect that, like I said, the journey will not be easy, but it is moving on. Even at the subnational levels, we are making some progress, and I hope everyone will cooperate with the center, so as to move in one direction. It will not be good for us to move, maybe at the national level we are moving one way, and some other states are moving another way, retarding the progress that we ordinarily could achieve, So at subnational level, I think, we have made some progress, and we are making some progress.
All right, let me stay with you, Prof, in Kano. In terms of sectors that you really need them to move quite speedily so that Nigerians can begin to feel the positive impacts of some of the intentions of some of these reforms, what would be, which sectors would be key in, perhaps we seeing a quick transformational or perhaps a new trajectory in terms of our direction towards, development?
We need development in all sectors. We need development, for example, in the manufacturing sector, because the manufacturing sector in particular is what needs to drive the economy more now, so that we don't depend, on imported manufactured products as much as possible. Given our population, what we need is to engage ourselves, is to see that everybody, is engaged in one thing or another, producing what we need, eating and producing and using what we produce. I think substantially more than any sector, the manufacturing sector deserves to move greatly, more than others. Now, in addition, we need to move significantly also in the service sector, especially in the IT sector. We are importers. If you look at the quantum leap we have had in the GDP of Nigeria in terms of the digital economy. So we need to move in, to grow there in terms of actually producing what we also consume there. We are one of the largest users of, IT and IT-related and telephone and internet-related infrastructure. So we need to be producing some of those things. So that is closely related also to the manufacturing sector. Now, another sector that needs significant leap, quantum leap, is the solid minerals sector. We have sincerely been operating at very peripheral level. When you look at the solid minerals potentials of this country, we are also, just like agriculture, we're also operating just as extractors. We're just extracting the minerals and probably exporting them, in a raw form, not processed. I think we need to move substantially in the direction of processing some of those minerals. We need to also ensure that there is better security so that exploitation of those minerals is not by illegal, itinerant operators, but by, government-recognized parties, so that at least government can also benefit from all these resources. I think in that regard, we need to do more. Of course, we have started doing something to our gas resources. More than even, we have more gas resources probably than we have of petroleum resources. We are making efforts, but I hope that efforts will continue. For example, now the effort to actually ensure that there is a pipeline that takes our gas down to Morocco or Algeria, so that the biggest market we could have, probably that of Europe, can be exploited directly. I think those are some of the sectors that need a lot of attention. By and large, what we need is to ensure that, given our growing population, given the size of our useful population, we need to ensure that everybody is busy. People are busy doing something. We are adding value. We are not just producing primary commodities. We are also adding value. So that way we'll get employment. That way everybody will be busy. That way we'll reduce the level of poverty in the economy. So this is my take.
Thank you very much, Prof. Professor Adeni is also here. Prof has touched on domestic manufacturing, and perhaps, developing value chains along the lines of our mineral resources as well in the solid mineral sector, and perhaps also, to a reasonable extent, making sure that, we have capacity domestically to, add value to those materials as well as improve our productivity. What are your comments on this? And perhaps specifically, you might look at some sectors that tickle your fancy if we are to begin to really, realize our potentials that we've advertised for 63 years.
Yeah, very important.